Hey everybody, my name is Sophie Alcorn and I'm a California certified specialist attorney in immigration and national with the State Bar of California Board of Specialization. Want to let you know about some immediate, as of 5 minutes ago, news from the White House. This is about the tweet that happened earlier this week about the immigration ban and how the White House is addressing it. So just now there was a press conference and the president did offer a few additional details about it. So it does not affect people who are seeking non-immigrant work in the United States. It's only for people seeking green cards. It will last 60 days. They're calling it a pause. And then they are going to reevaluate it and see if there are any other measures that they might want to be taking after that. So I just checked and it has been released on whitehouse.gov, issued today, April 22nd, 2020. So I want to read through the text of the executive order with you. It has been signed. It's not an executive order, it's a presidential proclamation. So the proclamation has been signed, and I want to take you through it step by step, and we're going to discuss what it says and what it means and who it affects. And so if you have any questions during this live stream, of course, you're welcome to share them with me in the chat. And if you have any follow-up questions about this later, you're also always welcome to reach out. You can find us at alcorn.law. And you can subscribe to my podcast, Immigration Law for Tech Startups. And you can also read my TechCrunch immigration advice column called Dear Sophie. So here we go. The proclamation suspending entry of immigrants who present risk to the U.S. labor market during the economic recovery following the COVID-19 outbreak. Several paragraphs long, several sections. And the preamble is about, the background of public health, COVID-19, and the effect on the U.S. economy. So then it goes on to say that we must be mindful of unemployment, therefore action would need to be taken. And already been permitted to live basically for the rest of their lives in the United States unless they, commit a crime or abandon their permanent residence. These are people who are allowed to live here long term. So it says, are granted open market employment authorization. So I would disagree with that because many immigrants are sponsored for particular jobs and must work in a job that they are sponsored for and make a good faith effort to do so, or else they could be accused of committing immigration fraud. So, that is something I would take issue with there. And then, there's additional background about the labor market and COVID-19. And then it does go on to say the vast majority of immigrant visa categories do not require employers. So, there are other types of ways to get visas. Immigrant visas, which are the same as green cards. You can get them through family. You can get them through something called the diversity lottery, which is for countries that have low levels of immigration to the United States. So there are several ways to get green cards. You can also get it by investing in the visa is the thing in your passport that allows you to come into the United States. There's non-immigrant visas, there's immigrant visas. Non-immigrants are like H-1Bs, TNs, O-1. An immigrant visa is the thing that somebody gets in their passport when they're allowed to come here as a permanent resident and on a green. So then it says that because visa issuance happens substantially after the labor certification process is completed, it cannot adequately capture the status of the labor market today. So that's really interesting, because the only reason that visa issuance happens substantially after the labor certification is completed is because the government has really long processing times for issuing the green cards. Okay, then it says that we don't want to strain our system. Therefore, for the next 60 days, certain aliens as immigrants with sections of the Immigration and Nationality Act, and basically says that certain people, and with certain exceptions, should have their entry be subject to certain restrictions, limitations, and exceptions. All right, so now we get into the nitty-gritty. Suspension and limitation on entry. Entry into the United States of aliens as immigrants is hereby suspended and limited subject to Section 2 of this proclamation. Okay, so this means, so entry is a technical legal term, and entering might actually mean physically moving your body into the country, but it sometimes could also mean going from being a non-immigrant to having a green card for somebody who's been physically in the United States for a long time. Okay, so they're going to suspend the entry of some people as immigrants. All right, so who's it going to apply to? We look to Section 2. So this shall only apply to people who meet 3 conditions. Number 1, they are outside the United States today, the effective date of this proclamation. 2, they do not have an immigrant visa that is valid on the effective date of this proclamation. That's today, April 22nd. And 3, who do not have an official travel document other than a visa, such as a transportation letter, an appropriate boarding foil, an advance parole document that is valid on the effective date, that is today. Okay. So if you're inside the United States, and this is my first time reading it, like I started this YouTube live immediately when I saw that this was on the White House website, because I wanted to get this information out there as soon as possible, because I know so many people are scared right now. So to all the people in the United States who have been losing sleep for the last couple days, this doesn't apply to you. It's just for people who are currently outside the United States, who can't get immigrant visas anyway because the consulates have been closed for weeks to protect everybody from the virus. Okay, so that's who it applies to. It applies to people who are not in the US now, don't have their immigrant visa yet, and don't have another travel document. And let's see who this does not apply to, because that's the next section. It will not apply to anybody who is already a permanent resident of the United States. So if you already have a green card, you're fine. It also does not apply to anybody who's getting a green card and coming in the healthcare space. So if you're a physician, nurse, or other healthcare professional, you're coming to perform research or any other for medical research, or any research to combat the spread of COVID-19, or you're going to be working in some industry related to protecting people from the COVID-19 outbreak, you are still allowed to come in, and you're still allowed to bring your spouses and your children who are under 21 years old with you. It also does not apply, oh yeah, there we go, EB5, as I thought. Anybody, you're still allowed. The US is still open for business, people. if you want a green card, if you're going to invest $900,000 in an area with high unemployment or $1.8 million in any other business, and you're going to hire 10 American workers, you can still come in the next 60 days. We got your back, investors. Oh, and lovely, any alien who is the spouse of a United States citizen. That's fantastic. So if you're already married to a citizen, we have many clients who are getting their green cards based on marriage to a US citizen. They are still allowed to come in and be reunited with their American spouses. That's wonderful. And then anybody who's under 21 and is the child of a US citizen, or who's going to be adopted, you can still get a green card to come in. Also, anybody who's in the national interest, anybody who's in the military, anybody who's getting a special immigrant visa, and anybody else who's in the national interest. This does not apply to you, and assuming the consulates would still give you an emergency visa for some reason, then you would be able to use that to actually come in within the next 60 days. So basically, this is at the discretion of the consular officers who are conducting these immigrant visa green card interviews in foreign posts around the world, many of which are operating at half capacity and, as I mentioned, are only doing green card interviews on an emergency basis. Now, remember, don't try to circumvent this application by committing fraud or lying. Don't ever do that. But, that could be trouble, this says. And, oh, how lovely. It also says that nothing about this should limit somebody's ability to seek asylum, refugee status, withholding of removal, or protection under the Convention Against Torture. So that's really good. They really scaled this back a lot from the tweet. All right, so now Section 4, termination. How long is this going to last? This proclamation shall expire 60 days from its effective date and may be continued as necessary. So I think that will be litigated probably. And it says, whenever appropriate, but no later than 50 days from today, the Secretary of Homeland Security should recommend whether it should be continued. Now, they also the Secretary of Labor, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and the Secretary of State. So those are the three government agencies that all make decisions about various parts of the green process. They're having all of them meet within 30 days and make recommendations to the White House about any other measures that might help stimulate the U.S. economy and ensure the prioritization, hiring, and employment of U.S. workers. Well, I have a suggestion for that. We need more programs to help immigrant entrepreneurs come to the United States, because over 50% of unicorn companies that have at least a $1 billion valuation here in Silicon Valley had immigrant founders. So let's bring more immigrants who are going to come with their amazing education and capabilities and create new companies with the newest technologies to help employ Americans. That's one thing we could do. All right, and now they're saying as it continues, they're going to enforce it, and if any part of it is invalid, they're going to try to keep the rest valid, and they'll try to fix it to make it comply with the law if it is determined invalid. And that's it, you guys. Okay, so it's been like 48 hours of chaos, but I guess that's how it works. It's a political rhetoric designed to make some people happy and scare other people, and that's how it works. But we finally have something real to sink our teeth into. And what we learned here, that this is it's a proclamation. It's not an executive order. It doesn't apply to anybody who already has a green card. Doesn't apply to anybody with a non-immigrant visa. It doesn't apply to anybody seeking adjustment of status inside the United States. So that's wonderful too. This is only for some people who are outside the US. They will not be able to have immigrant visa interviews and get their green cards to come in here. But that didn't matter anyway, because basically there aren't any immigrant visa interviews happening. And if there's an emergency situation, like you need a green card to be a healthcare worker, I'm sure you can still get an expedited appointment and you would still be able to come with your spouse and kids, get a green card and come in. So that's what that is. And I do see a question, so thank you so much. My wife and kids have the immigration visa stamped on their passport, but yet to enter the US, I am a green card holder, not a citizen. Are they eligible to enter? So for somebody who already has an immigrant visa, I think they can come in, because this specifically says the suspension shall only apply to aliens who are outside, do not have an immigrant visa, and do not have another travel document. So for somebody who already has gone to their interview and has an immigrant visa, there are other restrictions, like you can't come in if you've been in certain countries within the last 14 days. And like you can't cross the US, Canada, or US, Mexico border unless there's essential purposes. But I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be able to come in with their immigrant visas. So, see, what did I tell you guys? We got this. We can figure it out. Let's take it one step at a time. Now we have the actual text. It has been signed. There are a whole lot of people who it does not affect at all. And the people who it does affect were already affected. So this really did not make a marginal difference in anybody's lives. Just a couple of days of extra meditation was needed to wonder what was going to happen. So that's it, you guys. Check us out. We're at alcorn.law. If you need individual support, you're welcome to request a consultation through our website. You can subscribe to my podcast, Immigration Law for Tech Startups, which is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever else you get your podcasts. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter and check out our blog and follow us, Alcorn Immigration Law, on social media if you need additional updates. So I'm Sophie Alcorn. Thank you so much for watching. We got this. I mean, obviously the immigration system is super messed up. We'll figure it out together and we'll take it one step at a time. So have a great evening, everybody. Get some good sleep tonight. Thanks. Bye.